Hello everybody, welcome back to Newcastle Fans TV. I'm just outside the Four Seasons Hotel where Newcastle United have been staying, and this is the reason why I'm visiting this fabulous country. This is my honest review of everything that I've experienced in the 6 days of being in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh, the capital. So I want to start off with the airlines. So because I was ill the previous week before coming out, I couldn't get a direct flight because it was too expensive. So I flew to Egypt and then on to Saudi Arabia. Egypt airport was interesting. Not the most pleasant experience I've ever had. Very aggressive. Wouldn't even lend me a pen because I had to fill in some immigration form, even though I was only staying at the airport for a couple of hours. The Saudi airlines, totally different. Even though from Egypt to Saudi Arabia, which was only a 2-hour flight, comfortable seats, plenty of storage, even got food and water free of charge. And even when I got to the airport, they were very, very helpful, easy in and out of their marvellous experience in the Saudi airport. Of course, when I arrived, my tip for anybody who does visit Saudi Arabia is get a Saudi SIM or an eSIM. I was stung with high charges, roaming charges, because I couldn't get one of my eSIMs activated, so I cancelled it. Later I ordered a new one, and that worked a treat around Saudi Arabia. I could literally talk to people back home, social media, navigate with maps, order Ubers when I'm out and about. It was just a lot more easier. So get yourself an eSIM if you have a smartphone. My hotel was a little bit out the way, my own fault, because I booked it at the wrong part of the city. However, they were really, really understanding that when I arrived as well, my bank, even though I told my bank, which was NatWest, that I was going to be visiting Saudi Arabia and they knew about it, they still blocked my card after seeing an irregular payment coming out of my bank when I ordered an Uber. They blocked my card, which didn't help, but the hotel were marvellous with me. They allowed me to stay overnight despite paying. So, and even the apartment, it's an apartment I was given, and I paid about £300 for 6 days worth, and it was a big apartment. I had a big living room, I had a big TV, I had microwaves, I had everything you can name, fridge, big shower, massive bedroom as well. So that was really, really cheap. So the hotels out here are a lot bigger and a lot more cheaper than they are in the UK as well. I even had with the football, 2 Al Hilal fans, again that's the reason why I came out to follow Newcastle United, because they're out here for a week. 2 Al Hilal fans give me gifts, souvenirs. I had a flag and I had a wristband. Now that might not seem much, but the mutual respect that they've got for tourists blew me away. It really blew me away. More than that in a moment. They wanted to know more about what I do with YouTube. They searched for it whilst they got the phones out and they were searching what I did for YouTube, and they were subscribing there and then. And whilst I was at the match, that happened at least 10 times. Marvellous, asking about the club, where I'm from, you know, what's England like and stuff like that. Marvellous, marvellous. Come on to the Saudi people very shortly. One tip is do not drink the tap water. Make sure you buy bottled. I haven't obviously drank any tap water, but it's just common sense. I mean, it's built in a desert, so common sense prevails with that. And also, you know, speaking of brands, I want to talk about that. You know, there is recognisable brands. I mean, there's just a McDonald's just over there. There's places like Costa, Starbucks, Subway. There's plenty of sweets and, you know, your Starburst to McVitie's chocolate digestives, you name it. All the big brands are out here in Saudi Arabia. However, the service, probably in the public sector, is probably a little bit more slower than it is back home. Places like the McDonald's, which is just across the road from here, from the Four Seasons Hotel, is very, very slow paced. And also the coffee shop across the road as well. Forgot about my order twice. You know, the service is a little bit slower than it is. That's just probably a small gripe that I do have around things like the cafes and stuff like that. I want to talk about the people in Saudi Arabia. I've met so many people, from like Uber drivers to the hotel, to people in catering, to all sorts, you name it, to the staff, the stadium, to hospitality, to events. Honestly, don't believe what you hear in the media. These are wonderful, wonderful people, which opened my eyes up. Wonderful people, really, really welcoming, saying hi, welcome to Riyadh, enjoy our city, enjoy our country, enjoy our culture as well. I felt really welcomed. I was a little bit scared coming out here because I came out here on my own as a single traveller, and each day I gained more and more confidence around the city. Crime rate is really, really low because the punishment is really high. I mean, you might have your own opinion on that, but does it work? It looks like it does, but subject to matter, you might think that the punishment is too high on certain things. The driving is interesting. The driving is very interesting. It's quite aggressive, I'll call it that. A lot of the cars out here are from Japan and America, big cars, but there's a lot of cars that have bumpers missing and sides missing off the cars and damaged, and it doesn't look like they fixed them for whatever reason. Maybe it's too much, I don't know, but they're just driving around. Now that wouldn't be allowed in England. You wouldn't pass the MOT if your car's hanging off, do you know what I mean? It's interesting because they're just driving in front of each other, they're all going different lanes without indicating and cutting across you, and very, very different, shall I say. That was an experience that I had with things like Uber drivers and getting in cars and everything around me as well. You'll need a car, speaking of cars, you need a car to get around this city in Riyadh, because the metro system is being built, it's getting modernised, there's going to be tons and tons of stops. So in the future, where I'm expecting Newcastle United to come and the fans will come a lot more because of our ownership is owned by the Public Investment Funds, the PIF, who are Saudi based. They own Newcastle United. For the non-supporters who may be watching this, so coming back there'll be a metro system. It is hard to get around. I didn't use any buses, I used Ubers. The Ubers were easy to order, to get around as well, and they were pretty cheap, to be honest with you. The Ubers, it cost about 10 quid, 15 at most, to be in an Uber for about 35-40 minutes, which is really cheap. You can think of that back home. Again, that's a lot more back home as well. I didn't carry any cash with me. Everything was on my card. Obviously, I had an issue landing. NatWest, as I say, they literally blocked my card, but I paid for card. I didn't have any cash on me at all. Everything was by card as well. But as I say, most places were cheap, and that's just not just the Ubers. It's places such as, you know, getting food and water from the supermarket. Again, it's fairly cheap. It's about £1, £1.50 to get a big bottle of water as well. Even the brands, the big brands, big bags of crisps are only like £2. So it is really cheap. I haven't gone to any restaurant at all because I'm a really, really fussy eater. Vegetarian as well for nearly 3/4 of my life. And I'm a bit picky going to restaurants I don't really know, so I haven't experienced the restaurant culture. So that's probably a negative on my part, that I didn't experience their culture. So that's on me, not the Saudi people. The weather has been absolutely fantastic. Tonight was the first time it drizzled, and only drizzled for about half an hour in the 6 days that I've been here. It's been red hot, it's been 28 degrees. I haven't been out too much during the day. I've been going out round about 5 o'clock when it gets dark because it's a lot more cooler. I've been doing a lot more activities on an evening because it's a lot more cooler for me to walk around and do events and things like that. But yeah, the weather is absolutely stunning. So if you want warm weather, this is the place where you want to come to go. Do you know what's really strange as well? I haven't seen any dogs at all. Now obviously religious beliefs, because the Muslim world don't tend to have dogs because of the saliva, but plenty of cats about. I've seen a lot of stray cats as well, so there's plenty of cats that are about in around. And of course, as I say, with the religion Muslim, it's very, 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 very strong here. You've got Mecca and Medina, two of the holiest places on earth. So this place is still really, really religious in Riyadh. Now I'm an atheist, but I totally respect anybody's religion. I've seen a lot of people. I mean, there's a mosque next door at my hotel, and the speakers were going off 3-4 times a day. I experienced people having on the side of a motorway doing prayers a couple of times, coming down on my hotel. Reception are doing it. I've seen people in restaurants stop what they're doing. So it's been a real eye-opener for me, and I've just got to totally respect that I'm in their world. And I've got to look at that and think, you know what, I respect that, and hopefully they respect that I'm an atheist if they were to come to Newcastle, for example, England. So Men and women, of course, traditionally wear like the hijab and the niqab and the thobe as well. Not every Saudi does, which I was a little bit surprised about. I thought I would see a lot more of that. It's pretty obvious to spot a non-Arabic person like myself. I think I'd stand out like a sore thumb. Our dress probably westernised is what the probably locals might say, but maybe I stand out like a sore thumb because of that, because I'm not your traditional Arabic person or Saudi, and they've only really allowed tourists into the country for the last 3 to 4 years. Very little English is spoken out here. Hospitality is well spoken because they've got to welcome guests, in particular nationals as well. Except from the football with Newcastle, where some of the younger lads were approaching me. The English accent I didn't hear hardly any at all, except from the football. The only time I heard English being spoken where I was at events like Boulevard World, Boulevard City, you know, like events that you can go to, because non-Saudi people speak to Saudi people in English, because that's how they communicate. It's a lot of other languages, other nations' languages can speak good English, so they use English to translate. So, for example, a Swedish person wouldn't speak Swedish to a Saudi person. They would use English to translate. That's what I mean. So that's the only other time that I heard English, except from football, which, again, I think that'll happen more and more as more tourists start to come to this wonderful nation. As well, that because of the English, the Uber drivers, the journeys were a little bit awkward. As I say, the Ubers are fantastic out here, but you can sit in silence for half an hour not even having a word, because they don't speak any English at all. But again, with Newcastle United and more fans and tourists coming over, I think that will change. You can tell that you're in a desert as well. Some parts of the city are scattered with sandy bits here and there. Some buildings have been left abandoned with like construction not completed. You can also tell that some of the older buildings are from the old era, but also mixed in. Like this part of the world is very modernised, this part of the city, and you can tell that with money being ploughed back into the country because of things like oil and the investment that they're doing abroad as well, because the Public Investment Fund in particular have money all over the place, into Newcastle United, into places like Facebook, to, you know, your Ubers, to Starbucks and so on and so on. This is a powerhouse country, and I feel this country will grow massively in the next few years. There's a massive myth about some of the media stuff that's out there, that all Saudi people are all bad. This isn't true at all. I've experienced it. I've came out here for almost a week. Whilst, yes, they are learning about Western culture, we've also got to respect that I'm learning, and people who come here, about their culture as well. Cinemas are open now. Women have more rights. Women can drive as well. I mean, as I say, I was really worried coming here that I could get into trouble for accidentally doing something that I'm not fully aware of, but I'm really confident that I can walk around and, you know, be myself in this wonderful country. Now, there is obviously media that scare people. I think there is a lot of media scaring with the Saudis, in particular with the strict laws that they do have if you were to commit a crime. But again, the argument may be, as I said earlier on in this video, that if you commit a crime, you know the punishment that can come. So if you steal, you might lose your hand. There's even the rare times that you could be excuse me, executed, which has happened this year. Look, I can't just beat around the bush that some of the human rights stuff is appalling in this country, but it is getting better. But that shouldn't be put on ordinary citizens of Saudi Arabia, because that's wrong, and that's media scaring. That is really media scaring. I've been there for 6 days, experienced wonderful things here, and they've been so welcoming, the Saudi people. I can't get enough of how nice they've been to myself the past 6 days. Crime is obviously really low. Now, you might argue the case that it's only low because of the strict laws. Well, maybe the Westerners could learn some stuff from the Saudis, and I'm not saying chop your head off or, you know, lose your hand or anything like that. Of course not. There's other ways that we could learn off each other. Of course there is. But the media do scare us. They really do. Would I recommend anybody come to Saudi Arabia again? Yes, I was. As I say, I was very worried coming to this country. Would I come again on my own? Yes, I would. If Newcastle United, who are based just behind me, would they come back here? Of course they're going to come back here. Would that stop fans like myself? No, I won't. Would I tell anybody to not go to an Arabic country because you're worried about what the media say about Arabic people? No, I would say go and learn, go and enjoy it. Now, I haven't learned everything about Riyadh and the Saudis. I've only learned a small dose in the past week. But this past week has been absolutely marvellous despite me travelling on my own. I've really enjoyed it, and I just wanted to make this video just to bust a couple of myths that are out there. And big praise to the Saudi people, and thank you very much for welcoming me in your beautiful country. Hope you like this kind of video, everybody. If you can help us out by smashing that like button, that'd be wonderful. My last day here, last night in Saudi Arabia. I hope you have enjoyed all the videos this week. It's been an absolute whirlwind, absolutely loved it. Take care everyone, bye bye.